When everything is infinite, nothing really matters. Many have criticised the Multiverse Saga and some of its projects like What If and Multiverse of Madness for not truly exploring the infinite possibilities of the multiverse, for playing it safe when they should have been going balls to the wall. The problem lies in Marvel showing us all of these different universes that, from what we've seen of them at least, are barely distinguishable from one another. And perhaps that's to the fault of the creatives behind these projects for not really showing us much more of these universes than one or two settings and a handful of characters at best. The very fact that we can barely tell these universes from one another begs the question, why couldn't they have all been one universe? The Ultimate Universe. In Marvel Comics, the Ultimate Universe was a new line of books created in a time where comics were struggling to keep the interest of long-time readers, as well as finding new ones. A situation Marvel Studios also seems to be finding themselves in these days. You see, comic book continuity, which had been a key to the success of Marvel Comics in the early years, turned into a problem for some readers. All stories had to fit into a 60-year continuity, a bar that not all fans could reach, and which scared away some new readers. By this point, most superheroes were adults, even those that started off as teenagers such as Spider-Man and the X-Men. The usual style of superhero comics with pages of garish colours, fantastical villains and convoluted plots were also seemingly of little interest to young adult audiences of the time. This led to what many fans have since dubbed the Dark Age of comic books, which tried to counter the campiness of the Silver Age with violent and shocking content, but this trend soon found itself declining as well. The idea for the Ultimate imprint was developed on the premise that Marvel's main problem was that they were publishing stories that were all but impossible for teens to read, and unaffordable to boot. The pitch was to reboot the heroes to their original character premise. Marvel's editor-in-chief Joe Quesada preferred to start an imprint with new heroes, but accepted the proposal. Unlike previous reboots, there was no in-story explanation for the existence of the imprint, and the standard comic books were still being published unaffected by the new project. Thus, Ultimate Spider-Man would contain stories of a new teenage Spider-Man at the start of his crime-fighting career, and the usual Spider-Man titles would still contain stories of the adult Spider-Man with nearly 40 years worth of continuity. The Ultimate Universe would come to an end with 2015's Secret Wars event after a pretty steep decline in its reception, though its concept was not forgotten, as a new Ultimate Universe would be born in 2024 and has so far featured some of the best storytelling Marvel has produced in a hot minute. One could argue that us constantly revisiting the same alternate universe doubles down on a lot of people's main issue with the Multiverse Saga, its lack of wacky variation. But if people are already saying this, then fuck it. Double down. I'm not saying don't ever venture out into universes overrun with zombies or set in medieval times. That stuff's great. But having one specific secondary universe that we could build out adjacent to the MCU, not you, Sony, would not only provide those who are a little sick of the main MCU timeline with a new source of entertainment and anticipation, but would also allow us to care for these characters across the multiverse when the inevitable incursions arrive. So, what are our options? Well, at first it seemed as if Multiverse of Madness' Earth 838 would be something, somewhere, that we could see a lot more of, not just in the movie itself, but over the Multiverse Saga as a whole. The prospect of a Marvel Cinematic Universe that had it all from day one. The Avengers, Inhumans, X-Men and Fantastic Four all under one big blue sky. Now this truly would be the ultimate MCU, right? Wrong. Now believe it or not, I've actually never seen Mr. Feige's top secret chalkboard of what's to come, so I don't know if this will be the last we see of this world. But judging by what we know Marvel has coming up, I'd be surprised if we get anything more than a glorified cameo in Secret Wars. Speaking of cameos, it seems as if Marvel is having a hard time holding on to its first family across the multiverse. With 838's Reed turning into spaghetti and 2005's Johnny a not-so-delicious bone broth, only time will tell if our latest iteration of the characters will hit the big screen in the way they've always deserved. Next year, Matt Shakman brings us the Fantastic Four First Steps, in a brand new 1960s themed take on Marvel's first family, set in an alternate timeline to the MCU's 616. Could this be it? Our ultimate MCU? I for one would love to see Marvel take on a secondary universe with such a vastly different visual style. Just imagine a whole world full of superheroes influenced by their classic comic appearances. Aesthetics that would feel so out of place in the MCU's modern, somewhat over-designed roster of characters and locations. But sadly, given that this film leads directly into the Multiverse Saga's conclusion, and the rumours surrounding the FF's jump to the secret timeline following a visit from the World Eater, I doubt that this will ever come to fruition. Come on, there has to be something else. Another option, this video's saving grace. Oh, how about some good old reliables? Ah, nostalgia. Hollywood's latest fascination. Marvel's billion-dollar life hack. Could it be that the answer has been staring me in the face since before the MCU even existed? The Raimiverse, the Webverse, the fucking Foxmen for Christ's sake, even... the Spunk? Are these the alternate timelines Marvel was banking on to make us give a damn about the multiverse's impending doom? To get a few cheap tears and even more not-so-cheap movie tickets out of us? I mean, it would make sense, the work is already done for them. We're already invested in these worlds, the characters, their stories, joy, pain, and skin-type fucking heroics. All Marvel would have to do is roll out the dump truck and Mickey Bucks to get the band back together and boom! You looking for this? Marvel's next Endgame on a silver platter. Now, I know this is starting to feel a little cynical, but don't get me wrong, I still love the MCU. I'm a sucker for nostalgia bait and I'm really excited for the potential of a Secret Wars movie, but I just worry that Marvel Studios has simultaneously overdone and undercooked the concept of its multiverse, and is relying on nothing more than squeezing Toby and Hugh back into their supersuits one last time to make us care when it all gets put at stake.
Till you're 90.
But hey, those are just my thoughts. A potential solution from yet another geek on the internet with an opinion. Maybe you've gotten to the end of this video and you agree with me. Maybe you don't. Maybe you all clicked off within the first 2 minutes and I'm just talking to myself. If you did make it this far though, first of all, thank you very much for sticking around. And second, maybe leave a comment letting us know what you think of a potential ultimate Marvel Cinematic Universe. Hopefully we should have plenty more content coming your way in the new year, but until then, I've been Brandon and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw here today, then maybe consider subscribing to catch our other content as and when it releases.